Okay, no problem. So the first point is ensuring payroll continuity for weekly and bi-weekly employees. So this is generally a support related task. So what you do in this is there will be weekly and bi-weekly employees. Like for some employees we pay them weekly, for some we pay bi-weekly. So you can say that I've handled payroll for the same, like I've handled any payroll issues, any exceptions, etc., or any access provision, something like that. So you can say that you have supported the Kronos application for these modules: scheduling, accruals, devices, time and attendance. I'll show you devices in today's class. And then discovering underlying business needs that have to be addressed and information related to product and project, often to conversations via Skype Teams. So what this means is you're speaking to somebody, like you're having a conversation with a HR or a manager through Skype or Team, and you're trying to gather what change or what requirement they want to make to the system, so that it'll be easier for them to use the system. So you can simply say that you worked in an upgrade project. I don't have any notes for this, but I want some time. If you give me some time, I can create a document and send it over to you, probably by weekend. And then you can say that you've written some SQL queries to generate one-time reports. You've handled clock issues and also some Java issues. So before 8, all versions of Kronos before 8, they all use Java. So Java is nothing but a small, it's a very small download, that happens every 3 months once because of some virus issues. It's sometimes called as vulnerability issues. So Java itself says that every 3 months once you have to keep upgrading your Java. So Kronos is only compatible with some types of Java uh, JREs. Okay, Java file is JRE file. So Kronos is compatible only with some of the files. So you can say that you have handled all those issues. So in those cases, what you have to do is you have to, reduce the security level. If they ask, you can say that that's what my organization has suggested. And then you can say that Kronos Workforce Central pre-check maintenance activities to ensure smooth. So you can say that I used to monitor the clocks every day. My first job that I do when I log in is to check the check if all the devices are working fine, check if all interfaces have run, like there's a person import, if there's any errors. So that's my activity. So this is working with client BSA to business analysts to gather and finalize enhancements requirements. So you'll have some enhancements, right? So there might be a rate change, so they'll be paying 20 rupees, suddenly they want to increase it to 30. So in those cases you will have to make enhancements, you have to modify the payroll, right? So in those cases you'll say that you work with client BSA. And then your involved in maintenance process include weekly server and database reboot. So this generally happens when your Kronos is installed in a server within your system. So there are two things: one is on premise, one is cloud. So in cloud you can ask Kronos to take care of the cloud server, or you can have your own cloud engineer to take care of it. But mostly it will be, the servers maintained by the company. So in those cases, every once in a month we will send an outage email to all the employees saying that for 3 hours on Friday morning the Chrono system will be unavailable because we'll be doing some refresh activities on the server. So what happens is when you log on to the system, that'll to the server, there'll be two small buttons, one red and one green. So first you'll have to right click on the red button and run as administrator, that is the stop button. So it's going to stop the application. So the name of the application applet that runs is JBoss. You might have to take a note of this. It's JBOSS. So that JBoss, it keeps running, and once you stop it, it's going to stop the Kronos application. Like nobody can log into it, no punches will be recorded, you cannot view anything in Kronos. So you'll give it few minutes and then you'll click on the green go button. So once you do this, the JBoss, which is in stopped, it starts to run suddenly, and the application picks up. So this is a weekly server reboot. So database reboot, you can send it to the database team. Usually we don't handle database things. There's a Windows team that handles the database issues. And there are some service pack installations. You can say that I have coordinated with Kronos to do some service pack installations, etc. And then preparing and executing unit test cases for developed and deployed changes. So this means that you can say that one of my colleague did a Kronos change. She did a accrual and a payroll change. I did the testing for that, and I've created a document for the same. So all these points, will help your resume get picked out. Like, this is something that a Kronos support consultant does. So right now you can try definitely for support jobs, and once you get into a support role, you can ask for a development thing. I've also asked my friend at Infosys. He's yet to get back to me. So if you can edit your resumes and send it to me, I will forward it to him.
Okay.
Okay, this is not compulsory. If you want, you add these points, but as far as I saw your resume, right? But so it doesn't feel like there is any Kronos thing in that. So make sure you add all these points first, and then uh, whatever is in your resume, you just add it as secondary. Like, apart from Kronos, I also do this something like that.
Okay.
Okay, this is one thing. So where did we stop last time? We saw genies, right?
On, yeah.
Okay, so I think I have to show you display profiles. I showed you hyperfines. I think yes. I showed hyperfines and genies we are done. So today we'll do display. I'll show you devices, and also I will uh, show you how to download the AdventureWorks database. I think we'll start with the database because it might take some time for the download to happen. So I'll show you the database thing. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm going to try and download something called as Adventure Database, AdventureWorks. Oh, what's wrong with this? Okay, you'll get this document. So we also spoke about SQL, right? So in this resume, you're going to add something called you're working on SQL queries. So what is this SQL? SQL is nothing but it is a language that you're using to communicate with the database. So you're going to talk to the database to ask it to show you some columns and rows from some tables so that you can copy paste it into an Excel and send it to the user. I don't have a Kronos database here. I don't have the access to it. It only has admin access. I've asked them if they could give it to me, but uh, you can always download this, and I suggest you do this because you won't have access to database at your office, right? So, so there are few things that you need to note. Since you get a recording of this, I won't be sending this notepad. I hope you'll be able to pause the video and check this. So we will be doing a few things now. So first we need SQL Server Management Studio. Second, we need AdventureWorks database. Third is login. So this is generally what happens when you're trying for database. And also one thing, I'm using a friend's laptop. I'm not in my home. So this laptop might get switched off. So if it gets switched off, I'll automatically come back in. You don't have to worry. Okay. So there are three things when it comes to SQL. This is general, and I'll also tell you how this applies to Kronos. So first you need SQL Server Management Studio. So what is this Management Studio? It is a place where you can write a query and you can execute it. Okay. So if you want to write a query and execute it, you have to refer to something, right? So if you want to go and open a birwa, like you want to go and check a cupboard, you want to open a cupboard and you want to see what are all inside. But to do that, you need a room, right? To have that cupboard, that room is your database. So this AdventureWorks is nothing but it's an online free database. So for Kronos, it will be something called as TKCSDB or something like that. So it differs from company to company. They can have any database, but a database is nothing but a general term. And there's also this very nice website. It's called W3 schools, SQL. You can go to SQL tutorial on W3 schools. So this is all you have to learn about, and there is also a try it yourself page here, so you can try it. Actually, you don't have to download this at all, so you can try from this SQL tutorial, but I will go ahead and I will download and show you how this thing looks. Okay. Okay, so this, I think we saw some SQL statements, right? Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, we saw some SQL, right? Previously I showed
No.
you how the page looks.
No.
Oh, we didn't. Okay, I was thinking I showed you in one class. It looks like a blue screen. We I remember telling you about columns and views, etc. Okay, no problem. Let me try to download this. So you can also do this. It's free, so you can also try this at your home. So I'm going to try to download SQL Server Management Studio 2012. It should take some time. Let it. Meanwhile, we'll go to Kronos. I'll let it download in the meantime. So we finished genies. So the next part is your navigators. Okay, so what is navigators? So there's two parts to display. What you're going to display and what is the shapes and types you're going to display. So there are some terms that you have to note. So this is called a workspace. This is called a workspace. This is called the related items pane. You have any related items that you can go from here, and these are all the widgets. This is an alert widget, this is an exception widget, etc. So we will see the back. I mean, like, I'll show you how we can configure this. So to configure this, to configure any navigators, you have to have access to super user, okay, like the maximum user. So the first thing I'll do is I'll click on the plus sign here, and I'll take it to manage navigators. So there are four parts here: widget parts, widgets, workspaces, and navigators. I have to finish one by one, so I can create a navigators and I can assign it in the display profile. Default grant manager, default grant manager. So this is how I can create a navigator. So I'll show you what widget parts we have. So there's one more thing you need to note. So sometimes it says templates do not modify. So make sure you only copy it and not delete or do anything with it. Probably we'll edit this. So this is going to show the alerts thing. So here you have, right? So this is a request manager alert category. So if I go to request manager alert category, I'll show you how this pane is now set up. So do you see this icon? This is the icon here. So you can go ahead and you can create something for, you can say there's an exception and you have to make it. So there's something on the calendar that's blocked, that's not working. There's some award related, this is related to activity. So there's some award related thing that's going on. So, anything like that. So this first widget part is for your alerts category. So you're basically creating an alert category over here. So this is one example is exceptions. You can log in and you can check out how other alerts are set up. So the second part is widgets. So if I come to widgets, again, there are some templates that I should not modify. I can just work with it, but not modify with it. So we'll see what time card widget looks like. So if I'm going to open a time card widget, if I have a time card widget and if I'm going to open it, so you can see it on the right side. Sometimes. So this time card widget. So it's showing current pay period. That's how I've set it up. Current pay period. This is for the manager view. No hyperfind is set up. What all hourly time entities I need to have. So these are all the options that you want to show. Okay, like do you want historical corrections or approved time card or accrual transitions? So this is basically the okay. So what are columns? What types of columns do you want to display uh, when you select the time card? So like schedule in, out, transfer, pay code, amount, transfer, pay code, date, schedule in, order, out, amount, etc. So these columns that you're going to select for Harley because you have selected your Harley time entities. And then what widget add-ons do you want? Like do you want to take it to accruals, you want to take it to credits, widgets, audits, historical corrections, all this area. And columns for secondary view. So do you want to have any secondary view? Then you will be having all these or these options to it. And then you have a go to widget pane at the end. So um so you don't have to touch the middle parts. Yeah, yeah. So this is an example for a time card related uh, widget. So you can go and check what is there for requests, what is there for schedules, and you can also create one, but make sure you don't touch the templates. Okay, go back. And the third thing I have to do is I have to create a workspace for this. So in order to create a workspace, I have to collect two or more widget paths and I have to put it into here. So you see the layout over here. This is how this thing is set up. So this layout means it's top and bottom. So the first page we saw is two columns. So this is two columns. So this is two columns, I guess. Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't touch in this. I'll just copy this. I'll leave it as copy or I'll add RS. So even when you're trying, just make sure you copy it and you do it so we can see how it changes. So this is three column view. So it's going to show you two columns here and two columns here. So what you can do is you can pull things here like this. So you can pull from here and you can add it to here. So this is the two column view. So we have some two column views here. So this is, I'm sorry, this is side by side. So you have other options like three columns, one widget, two columns, etc. So this workspace is manage my department. So basically you will be creating this manage my department and you will be assigning it to employees, right? So this is your manage my department. This is where you will be able to see your workspaces when you click the plus sign. So this is where you're going to tell what all actions this person should have access to when he clicks on manage my department. Like all these items he has added in here in manage my departments. Okay, visible is nothing but what should be appearing in the first when you log in immediately. That's your visible, and you don't have to overwrite your user preference. It's generally disabled if until or unless your company specifies it. So this is your workspace. The final thing is you'll have to go on to a navigator to assign one or more one or more workspaces that you created. Probably we'll see what a manager template looks like. I'm just editing it, not adding anything. So here they only added go to links. So this is the go to links bar. You can also add manage my department, etc. Since this is template, again, I'm not making any changes to it. So they've added these exceptions, widgets, workspaces. So you can try to create a new one, and you can try to create a new navigator profile. So once this is done, I will have to go back to setup, and I have to go to display profiles. Here I have to come to navigation profiles and have to check this. I'm sorry, navigator profiles. So they have some navigator profiles here, right? So these are the available navigator profiles that you just saw in the other system. So you have to select one of these. So see, they have all these, right? So when they click on the plus icon, they'll have all these options under them. So you will be assigning this navigator profile to display profile. This display profile is going to have navigator selections, and here you will be adding the navigator profile that you created. And this is how you add this, so that when a manager with this profile, with this display profile is logging in, he'll be able to see that on the screen. So you can try to create it, try to create a manager. You're already a manager in the system, I think. So try to create a display profile, try to create a navigator and then sorry, a navigation profile, assign it to the display profile. And you, how you assign this, it's in the uh, licenses, manager, job assignment. I have to come down to manager role, scheduler, I'm sorry, access profile, and then I have to add a display profile over here. So when I add a display profile to here, and if I give her a username, you can edit your username. You give a username and give a password, and you can try to, you can log off from test. You can use that username and password to log on, and you can test how the profile looks like. So this is how you can test the system. Okay, so this is your display profile. So we saw function. Did we see function access profile?
No.
Okay, so what did we finish in access profile? Did I show you how this all works?
No.
Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, so there are some accesses that we have to do, so that can you mute yourself? I'm not able to hear properly. Okay, so there are some types of accesses that you need to do when you create a profile. So what you see when you log in is your display profile. If you can edit, delete or move is your function access profile. So for function access profile, I have to go to setup. I have to go to access profiles. I have to go to function access profile. So here I'll be selecting a function. I'm just going to show you a demo. So in this function access profile, what happens is there are some categories. So as an employee, as a manager, and within the manager, there are three items. So system configuration is, you know, the highest access. So this is generally only given to administrators. Like this has access to licenses or the backend processing things. So we'll go and see common setup. So there is variety of options in here. For example, you can say if an manager can access comments in the setup. If it is disallowed, then he cannot. If you allow it, then he'll be able to access the comments section in setup. So when we log into setup, we are able to see everything, right? So like that, within setup, you can limit the access for these for some managers, and you can create a new function access profile. So this function access profile is basically add, edit, delete or view. So as a department manager, he'll be having access to his employees time card, right? So when he has access to time cards, what he can do is not time card editor, but pay codes. Okay, so for example, this manager, he has to, if he can access edit, pay codes in time card editor, if he can edit it, allow it. So if it is disallowed, he'll not be able to. He can view it, it's allowed. Move amount, he cannot make changes to the amount. Start time on pay code edits, he cannot make any changes to the rest of the items. So this is the function access profile. So this basically does either addition, edit, or delete. You're giving access to the system, but you're limiting the access. So this person can only view, this person can only make edits. So some types of managers, they are given access to edits. Some managers, they can only view, they can log in, view, they can only run reports. So that is your function access profile. You can see what is for test, it's super user, so it's usually everything. You can check out payroll manager, they'll have some different accesses, like you can assign this payroll manager to an employee and to any of your I mean, like you have the login, right? Emma Roberts or Charles or somebody. So you can assign all these profiles to them. You can log in as that person and check how their function access, how their system is looking up. Okay, so that's one part of it. So there's one more thing called as GDAP. It's called the generic data access profile. So this generic data access profile is going to give you access to some particular options. Like if you create this, you will be assigning it to the people editor, and this is going to give access only to whatever items you select here. For example, if you have accruals, you'll be selecting some accrual related codes. Okay, so you will be giving them access to them. This is complicated, I just want you to know what this option is. I taught you the help thing, right? You can look up the definition for this there. And these are the data access profiles. So these data access profiles, they are the individual ones. So if you look at pay codes, it has all the pay codes that you have created in the setup. So you can go in the pay codes and you can create a new thing. You can say edit test pay codes. So what this means is, in your people record, you have view related pay code, edit related pay code, and restricted pay code. So you can say that I want to allow bonus, compensation, daytime off. So this is my edit related pay code. So if I only want my users to have view related pay codes, what I'll do is I'll select the pay codes that I can view, but I'll not be able to make any changes to this. So what happens is, in your pay codes, you have your these pay code profiles, right? So you can go to and pick up your so this is Shashmita's profile. I've given a super access to everything. So if I am going to limit the super access profile, so you see pay code edit profile, I created an edit profile, right? So I can go here and I can select edit related access. For view related, I can go here and I can select view. So now you understand the difference. I can also create a restricted pay code profile. So if I add a restricted profile, whatever pay codes I've added in the restricted thing, she will not be able to access those pay codes. So this is how your uh, pay code related data access profile works. So similarly for work rules, you have a profile here. For reports, you have a profile here. I'll show you reports. So you can create what all reports this person can have access to. You can say he has access only to two. You'll save this and you'll be able to see it here in the work rule report profile. And then you have shift templates. I so I think we discussed shift templates and schedule groups when we saw there. So you can see all the shift templates that you have created in the system. So you can create access. So some people might want to have access only to morning shift, some to evening shift. Similarly for pattern templates and schedule groups. So this is your data access profile, and this is where you do all those setups. So you're done with your access. Next is your manager role general. So in access, you don't have to worry about all the other stuffs. So this locale notification and all is like when you use mobile, or when there is any issues with the server, you want to communicate it. So you generally don't give those access to the backend users. That's something the system administrators do. uh Delegate profile is nothing but, so suppose there are two managers, one manager is going on leave, you can create something called as delegation and you can assign it to another manager. So you do delegation in common setup. We'll not be doing this, but you can use the online help to look up for this. So you'll basically create uh, delegates. I think I can send a document for this. I'll send a document for this. I'll send the steps for this later. So that is your access profile and that is your manager role gender. So this employee group we saw before, right? So we create labor level sets under the organization thing, and then we create based on the labor levels. Like if Sashmita has to view first and second labor levels, then we add those labor levels and she'll be able to see it. The same we can add for labor level transfer set. If you want to do any transfers between employees, she'll have access to those employees within her group. So the pay code edit view work role report we just discussed, and we will go to work role scheduler. So this is where you add the schedule, shift, and pattern availability templates from the data access profiles we just saw. So these last four are for advanced scheduling that we don't deal with in this topic. So this is your access related setup. I will just check if the thing is downloaded. How long is it going to take? Mhm. Is it okay if we have one more class for SQL? I don't know if it gets downloaded now or not. So if you want, we can have one more class for SQL.
If you want, we can have one more class for SQL. Okay, no issue.
Okay, and then
Okay, and then
um, did I show you the setup part, system configuration part, where you can check licenses and all? This is the system information part. So this is one of the most important parts. So you can say that my job used to be to check if all my service. So now we have only one connection, right? But in your companies and all, you'll have three or four servers because not everybody can log on to one server. So there's something called as load balancing. What it does, it will be pointing one user to next systems, available systems for them to log on without any issues. So you can say that I used to log in and check here. These are the applications that I have installed in the system. You'll not be checking this, but your daily task will be to check your all servers and your background processor. So background processor or BGP is nothing but your RAN. BGP is nothing but it's a process that keeps running every single second. So when now we don't have employees in our system, in the system we are working now, right? Nobody is going to punch in, nobody is going to punch out. But when you're working in your office, there are some people who are going to punch in, punch out. So what happens with them? The payroll has to calculate, right? It has to calculate rounding rules, it has to calculate work rules, pay rules, etc. So and it will be doing that for all the employees who are punching in, punching out, or applying for leave. So there's some activity every second to second happening in Kronos, right? So the BGP's work is to make sure everything is caught up, all employees are included in the process, and all employees are actively being processed for their information. So if you have any employees, it will show three employees not here, four employees not here. So in those cases you can say that I have a small SQL query that I run. I don't have it now, but I'll send the notes for that as well when I send it to you. So you can say that I use the SQL to check for that. Especially during payroll, this is very helpful. So these are the two things that you do here. Apart from that, what system information does is it will show you what all installed applications that you have in the system, what is the database that is connected to the system and if it is online, and how many licenses you have remaining. So we have 7 licenses. Maybe you can create 2 more users and you can check if the licenses is dropping down. So these are the licenses that we have. And you can leave these stuffs. You can check for users. So I have logged in as test on 15th October at 7 a.m. Eastern time. So it's showing me the label for it. So this is system config. This is system information under system configuration. There is also something called as system settings. Make sure you tread this very carefully. So this is where this is where the whole Kronos backend system is set up. This is based on Java, right? So all the backend setup is done here. So you can check for Java. Java won't be here because this is version 8 and you're on Navigator. So this is flash free. So you don't need to have Java for this, but you can go to system settings, and in Java plugin settings you can see what version of Java is installed. So this is important because you have to keep Java updated, otherwise there will be some vulnerability issues. So when they ask you in the interview, you can say that I used to check the Java version in the system settings, and if there's any issues with it, I used to notify my team, and we used to download and update the latest Java version so that we don't have any vulnerability issues, and we used to do it during the downtime that we have every month or 2 months once. Okay, so this is your Java thing. And there are so many setup in this. Don't go into each one of them. I just wanted to show you the Java thing, so I came here. But this is all very important place. So this is where all your options are there. So this there, for example, so this will tell you how far along in the future can I show you the calendar. So from now I can show you 9 months of calendar, something like that. Like how many rows of employees should I show? 5,000 employees. If it goes more than it, it's going to throw you an error. So this is your system settings. So this is the whole Kronos part. I'll just show you devices. If there's is there anything else left apart from this? I checked my notes, and I had to do only the display profiles that we did just now, the system configuration part, and the devices is remaining. So I'll just go with devices, but before that, if you have anything within the application, you can let me know. I'll do one class on SQL, but I cannot do it before this week. I'll do it sometime next week. You can keep preparing for your interview in the meantime. So we saw introduction, we saw timekeeping processes, we saw organization setup, pay policies, accruals, basic scheduling, people editor, reports, access profiles, navigation setup, display, and how to navigate the time cards. And only this is remaining. And don't commit anything on interfaces. It is very tricky. You can say that you don't have much experience on interfaces, but you can say that I'm always willing to learn. That is why I'm looking for a change. I believe Tech Mahindra and Infosys are HCL. They're all looking for people, so you can apply there. Okay, we'll go to devices. So there's two parts to devices. So the first thing is there's a device setup that we do first. So in setup, what we do is we do a list of things. So honestly, I don't do all this. Like this will already be done by the first person that does, or you'll work in hand with your network engineer. So you basically have to make sure if there is a firewall, how to bypass or how to safely communicate within the firewall with the clock. So this clock is have you seen clocks? You must have seen clocks at your premises, right? I'm sure you will also be swiping in out on the clocks. So that clock backend configuration is what you do here. Front end configuration is what you do here. So in the backend, what you have to do is you have to make sure how this clock is set up. Is it server initiated or device initiated? Um, Something like that. You have to get all the information and from the network team, and you have to do it. You'll not be asked questions on this. You'll be only be asked questions on the front end, but I'm just telling you what the back end looks like. So the main part is here, your configuration blocks you see here. So what this has is it is going to have the gateway, your primary address, and what type of information this clock is going to display. And once you create a configuration profile, you assign it to a device. So we can probably see communication settings. So how do you want the clock to communicate? So if it's a 4500 clock or an in-touch clock, if it is server initiated or device initiated, like if the server is going to, if you can, if there is a server initiated, then you can connect remotely to the clock. Everything works with IP address. So all this is provided by network team. I don't know the technical stuff for this, but I do work with the front end of the clock. Unfortunately, we don't have a clock, but have you seen a clock? So this is how we will be setting it up. You will be giving a unique ID, a name, a description, and you will select the model. You will select the configuration profile that you want. So it differs based on it. You'll give the IP address that's exclusive to this clock. If this IP is wrong, then you will not be able to make connections to the clock. So this is how your clock will look like. So generally what happens is when you come to this devices page, it will show you icons red, green, yellow. So if it's green, then the clock is fine. If it is red, then there is something wrong with the clock and you'll not be able to make any communication with the clocks. Okay. Thank you, Shashmita.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, Ronali.
Bye. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night. Bye bye.